Welcome to the Tactical Dent Tech Podcast. You are now part of a small underground movement of dent technicians from all over the world. We are on a mission to change our industry with innovation, intelligence, and skill. But because we don't rely on an insurance company to steer customers our way, we need to do things different. We need to do things smarter. We do that through a network of technicians that we call the Tactical Tech Movement. Now let's get this revolution started.
Hey, what's up, everybody? John Hiley here with Angela Hiley with the Tactical Dent Tech Podcast. How y'all doing today?
I know it's been a while, hasn't it?
Long time no see, sir. Long time no see.
Me love you long time.
Anything you want.
Anything you
Anything.
want. Anything.
A little Full Metal Jacket, for y'all. So, hope everybody is having a great start to your New Year's. Hopefully you're still...
No, we did a show after the New Year's.
Well, sure, yeah, but I still hope that everybody's still doing their New Year's resolutions. I don't know. The gym has actually still been rocking pretty strong, actually.
There are some very interesting people.
Definitely some new faces, but how do they know that we're not new faces?
I don't know, but I see some of the stuff that these people are doing as these workout things, and I'm thinking I don't think they're supposed to be doing it like that. They look like they're doing more harm to their body than actually pumping it up.
Yeah, you definitely don't want to model folks that are new to the gym.
I don't know.
You know what kills me is when I go to the gym and I see some dude lifting way more weight than what he really should. Yeah. And they're just literally about ready to injure themselves because they're jerking their back so hard, or on a bench, arching their back so high that it's just lost discipline of, actually keeping form.
Yeah.
And, I've seen people grab the curling bars and they'll swing their whole body just to get up. And I mean, it just boils down to mentally they want to feel like they're actually lifting more than they are. Now there's probably a case to be said about that when it comes to CrossFit and things like that. I want to say they do things a little bit differently.
Yeah.
It took me a while to figure out CrossFit, them fucking giant weights they were lifting. I was sitting there thinking Jesus Christ, well, these fuckers are strong.
Yeah.
And then I found out that one of them big ass weights that's 5 inches thick and 24 inches in length. So literally it looks like a 45, pretty much 5 45-pound plates stacked together was only 45 pounds. And then the one, when you actually a 45-pound plate is only 10 pounds. Now, there's reasoning behind that, I think. I was like, oh, man, these motherfuckers just showing off, and trying to make it look like they're lifting more. But I want to say that it has to do with how much dropping and stuff like that they do of the actual weight. So they don't want it to, where one plate is just smashing the ground and it's got other plates that are up higher and further in,
Yeah.
So it makes sense with what they do with the dropping and the throwing and all that stuff to keep the plates proportional. When they're doing that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
But that being said, y'all.
I'm going to tell everybody what happened to me last week.
I don't even remember.
Yes, you do.
What happened?
Remember? Tuesday morning, we woke up. Layla ate a rawhide the day before, and it upset her stomach in the middle of the night. And she ended up shitting everywhere in the garage. I mean, there was diarrhea everywhere, all over the cage, all over the wall, all over the floor, all over the side of the steps.
Put down your Chick-fil-A biscuit sandwich now.
All over her. And it was so foul, and I'm like, what the fuck? This is what I have to wake up to, and this is what I have to clean up. It took me an hour and a half to clean up the garage. And then I was on the back deck. This was 7 o'clock in the morning. Thankfully, it wasn't too cold outside. And I had a bucket of hot, soapy water giving her a bath out there.
Yeah.
That was Tuesday.
Oh, I thought you were going to talk about when you slip and fell.
No, and then Wednesday morning, Jonathan we had a parent-teacher conference at 9 o'clock. So this is 4:30 in the morning. Take Lily outside. She walks down the steps. I'm like, damn, it is really foggy out. What happens to Angie? Takes a step and boom! I go flying in the air. I hit the top step and then I go clunk, 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 clunk. Down 3 steps. And then I'm rolling around on the sidewalk, crying and screaming. And let me tell you something. It's not as bad now because it's been about a week. It's actually a lot better. But I have a bruise that goes straight up my butt crack. And then the top portion of my butt is like all bruised, isn't it?
Yeah.
Like, it's bad. It could have been worse because I could have broke my tailbone. I could have hit my back. And if I would have hit my back,
I'm just
I
going
would
to be
have
honest with you guys. Since then, she's been a big pain in the ass.
I'm not. No,
You've been a pain in the ass.
I have not.
You're trying to tell me you haven't been a pain in the ass?
My ass has been in pain.
Your ass has been in pain.
Hard to sit. It does not feel good to wear jeans. The only thing that's comfortable is like sweatpants, but it feels a lot better. But I mean, whew.
All she does is talk about it, pain in the ass.
I do not talk about it. You felt so
She can't get comfortable. Pain in the ass.
You came down the steps holding Odin, and you're like, "What's the matter?" And I'm like crying my poor eyes out.
Every time I look at her, she's uncomfortable, sitting in a weird direction. Pain in the ass.
I'm sure everybody knows what it's like to bust their ass before.
Yeah.
That was a bad one. I'm just thankful that I got enough cushion back there to,
So it's not such a pain in the ass.
Painful. Very painful. Very, very
Well,
painful.
we can definitely say she's been a pain in the ass.
Yeah.
So
last week I had a couple of days that were really bad. But I guess I looked at it. I said, hey, with Layla, we took her to the vet. She was fine. It could have been a lot worse. With me busting my ass, I could have got hurt a lot worse and ended up in the hospital.
Mm-hmm.
And then when we took Layla up to the vet, remember? She had to take all that anxiety medicine.
Yeah. They give her, she's a 90-pound American bulldog. And she's really like a solid muscle. I don't know if some of you guys probably picture a bulldog as being more of like a short, round, kind of like a fat dog. Like a built, but like a chubby dog that's not her. She kind of looks like a giant pit bull. It's called the American Bulldog is her breed, if you're not familiar with it. And she is ridiculously strong. She's like a solid, just big old head on her.
Just
just
all muscle.
All muscle.
No fat.
She can eat anything and literally be just solid muscle. I want to say that I read a little bit about her breed, and they can't gain weight. They can't get fat. I mean, you could feed that dog shit all day long, like cheeseburgers. I mean, you could just feed her, and she would never gain a pound. And that being said, though, because she's so strong and they're so bullheaded, that the vet had problems with her before because she won't let anybody fucking touch her ears.
Yeah.
And they actually had to sedate her, and in the middle of sedation, she stood up.
Yeah.
Dead in the middle of sedation, and we had to kind of hold her down while they finished her ear cleansing.
Yeah.
And in all honesty, there were several vet techs that were in there that had been working there for years and had never seen a dog stand up in the middle of sedation.
No.
And to be honest with you, you got to muzzle, even if the dog's sedated, especially a dog like her, she's got to be muzzled.
Yeah.
Because you can't.
She could accidentally bite somebody.
Yeah.
Not on
she's,
purpose, though.
She's not the violent type. People walk by our house, our yard, dogs, all that. She doesn't. She just stands up and looks at them and just
She's
lays
a
back
lover,
down.
but the amount of anxiety medicine that I had to give her 2 different kinds. So it somewhat affected her when we took her up there, but when we brought her home and she was laying in her cage all tucked and curled up in a blankie, and I checked on her before going to bed to see maybe if she wanted to go outside. She looked like she was so intoxicated. Her head was bobbing up and down, but she couldn't move. She couldn't get up.
Yeah, it's probably like the equivalent of, man, y'all ever been so drunk you couldn't even move? It's probably that same equivalent there. But one of the reasons I started talking about in the show, you guys for the New Year's Eve and stuff like that, everybody making their New Year's resolutions and getting started, in the year and all that kind of stuff. which I don't know if many of you guys have heard me talk on some of the other podcasts. It seems like I have like a New Year's resolution like every week,
Yeah.
where there's always some sort of something I'm trying to figure out, some sort of major change towards the positive. And some of the things that I've actually been figuring out is like some different ways to actually hack into your brain and begin doing some kind of like some rewiring. And I'm going to talk about that a little bit later in the podcast as far as exactly how to take a specific habit that you want to implement or a specific goal and strategy that you want to implement, and how to actually rewire your mind to convince your body to begin creating a habit and actually execute on that goal, right? And one of the first things I want to start off with is a term. I do believe a lot of the words in our language today have been majorly fucking abused, like to the point to where we've watered down certain words to where we truly don't even, they no longer have meaning anymore. I mean, I could give you an example. I mean, literally, calling somebody racist would be an example of a word that has been majorly watered down in our culture.
Yeah.
And that's because they use that, people use that term anytime they're uncomfortable or anytime they can think of a reason to use that term, and they've used it so loosely over time that people don't even care anymore. I mean, I want to say that back when I was a kid, if somebody called you racist, you would want to fight them over it. It was a term that was taken much more serious, and we're talking about just a span of 20 years here.
Yeah.
And it's basically a society can actually water down a word by giving it a different meaning that was actually intended. Okay.
Yeah.
So I wanted to use that example because I really wanted something you guys can relate and actually think about to how I'm actually moving forward with this. Because if you go back to, I want to talk a little bit about decisions tonight, and this is to me this is a huge topic because I want to say that a lot of times when we think we're making a decision, we're making more of like a half-assed commitment at best. Because if you actually look at the Latin word of where the meaning of decision came from, the word decision, it was a really fucking powerful word. I mean, back in the day when somebody said that they made a decision, the actual Latin meaning means to cut off. Or cutting off. And what that actually meant is that when you made a decision, you were cutting off any other possibility other than the decision you made. Okay? So you were cutting off any other outcome, any other possibility. It was either you were going to get what you decided to achieve, you were going to have what you decided to achieve, or you were going to die trying.
So do you feel like when people make a decision nowadays that they don't hold,
That depends.
have much value?
I mean, there are some that do, but I do believe, if you go back to, the whole New Year's Eve thing and the New Year's, and I mean, we're just in the month of January. Literally, we get the Mobile Tech Expo about a week and a half from now. And so we're at the end of January, and I would almost bet you that most people who actually thought that they were making a decision had already, given up. And one of the things that what folks really don't understand is technically you have to understand what a decision is and what a goal is, because typically when you make a decision, you're going to connect it to some sort of goal.
Yeah.
All right. So I made a decision to lose weight. So my goal is to be X and X so many pounds, right?
Yeah.
As they go on, they just can't do it. They give up, and ultimately they fail. So the reason why they fail is linked between two things, and it's the only motivation factor. And I may have spoke about this a little bit on some of the previous podcasts.
Being lazy?
No, it's because of actually what they associate pain and pleasure with. Okay, the only reason that you cannot achieve a goal is because you actually associate more pain with doing the work. If you actually
making up excuses.
Yeah, and it used to be actually, it's a function in our brain that goes deep into the subconscious, which is, believe it or not, that's like the deepest part of our brain is the most primitive. meaning that it functions more on pictures and emotions and feelings and all this and all these type of stuff in the deepest like subconscious level of our brain. And because of that, when we go towards a goal, if we start associating pain with that goal, our actual natural our system by nature will kick in and try to save us. It looks at that pain like it's a neuro association that says, "Oh, that's bad. Oh no, that's bad." I mean, I'll give you another example. So like a baby, for instance.
Yeah.
If a baby is crawling on a couch and gets to the end of the couch, the baby has no neuro association yet that if the baby keeps on going, it's going to fall off. He's going to fall. Poor baby's going to fall off the couch, right?
Yeah.
So baby keeps on going. Poor baby falls off the couch. The baby might not even associate the pain of falling off the couch with the actual falling off the couch. They may associate it with couches are bad. Couches hurt me, right?
That damn couch.
What it is? It's a false neuro association. Yeah. You know what I mean? But think about it. How many things in our life do we?
That couch is so mean.
Yep. How many things in our life do we have false neuro associations? Okay, well, I'm going to start eating healthy. You begin creating this false neuro association that, oh, that's painful. Oh, that's horrible. When you're not, what you actually should be doing is associating the pain of being unhealthy or the pain of being fat or the pain of living in that same existence.
Yeah.
What we do is we begin to have our neuro associations that are with like the feeling of now, opposed to actually structuring them towards a long-term goal.
Yeah, just like eating, what was it like last night when we went out to dinner and stuff like that? You were contemplating on maybe getting the chocolate cake. Which
I would have been miserable, man. I mean, like I was already, I ate some steak and relatively what I ate, none of it was really that bad. Steak and potatoes, to me, that's not bad.
No.
And I don't give a fuck what anybody says about that.
But eating the chocolate cake and the ice cream, it would have been tasting so good. But then like 15 minutes later, you would be feeling, and if I would have even started eating some of that too, we would have been feeling like shit. And we would have been bloated.
I would have been here at home laying on the floor.
Yes.
Now, I'm not saying that you should avoid chocolate cake all the time. But using common sense is really what
like
what
if
it
your
comes down
full,
to.
You don't need to like indulge. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
like,
I mean, using common sense is what it comes down to.
Is that considered like gluttony? Like
one
of the 7 deadly sins is gluttony. Isn't that like where you're like
constantly overeating and stuff like that? Sure. So I mean, what I want you guys to think about is. There's different techniques and there's different ways. And I think I actually talked about this on one of the previous podcasts. I told many of you guys that I'm writing a book. And I knew at one point when I tried to write the book last year that I've only got maybe, I wasn't using the word counter at the time, but let's just say I only probably got 2 or 3 pages into it and then just stopped doing it. So when my business coach, we were having a meeting, we were talking about it. He goes, "Man, I think it's time for you to do that." Because I'm probably about 6 months out from executing on some of the other plans, the other moves that we've already strategized all the way down the road. There's a lot of things happening right now. There's a lot of moving parts that are coming together at the moment. Mm-hmm. And he honestly feels that I was at the point where, yes, I can spend 20% of my energy on kind of like a new project that's a little bit outside of the industry, but it's kind of designed to help everybody in whole. If that makes sense.
You're really enjoying this.
Yeah. But taking one step back from that, I realized that when I couldn't write it the first time, that there was something that was holding me back. And it was pretty obvious. It's probably just me sitting down and actually taking the time to write something. And I mean, if you look back at my Facebook post 10 years ago,
oh my God, I hate
it's
those.
It's just absolutely horrible. And I'm still, to be honest with you, it's not that I can't take the time to write something correctly, but I get in this habit where I just go so fast when I'm writing a post. I'll go back 2 days later and realize that I just fucked the whole thing up and didn't even explain what and I'm trying to get better at that. But that being said, I'm a fast moving person. I'm trying to send out as many words as I'm thinking, and because of that, writing kind of slows you down a little bit, which is actually something that I found that I needed. So again, I was associating pain with the writing of the book.
Do you find it kind of like soothing?
I do now, yeah. And I find it something that engages me all day long. So throughout the day, if I'm listening to an audiobook or something like that, like I'll stop and actually take mental notes.
Yeah.
I probably should start taking some physical notes, but I'm getting there.
Yeah.
And I am already up to, I want to say I'm up to 23,000 words
Woo!
now in the book written. I've got 90,000 words to write, and then thereafter it goes into editing. But the point I was trying to drive specifically about the book is that I knew that I associated pain with the writing of it. So, I talked about this. If you didn't hear about it on a previous podcast, I took a charity, which I would just hate to donate money to. It was the Clinton Foundation. And to be honest with you, I really don't consider myself a big Republican, a big Democrat, anything like that. It's just honestly, Hillary Clinton has always made me sick. Just everything about her has not when she was with when Bill was president. She didn't bother me then, but something about her now it just. And then on top of that, I've just there's so many rumors about their charity organization making them rich, and it just being. I mean, it would honestly to me it would feel like the biggest piss away of my money that I could possibly do.
Yeah.
And it would be very painful for me to take the check that I've already written out and send it to them. It would just be very painful.
You have to
and see, on top of that, it would be painful for her. So I'm getting that. On top of that, it would be painful for me to sit here. So I'm coupling it with public humiliation, meaning I would have to sit here and tell you guys, hey, no, I didn't do it. And here's what I'm doing now. I've got to pay it. I mean, because of all of them things, now I associate so much pain with the not doing of the work.
It's almost like it puts a fire under your ass.
It does. It does. But, guys, you can't be scared. You have to do things that will initially make you feel uncomfortable.
Yes.
And you have to trust that when you put something like this in place for yourself, okay, you got this big thing that you know that you should be doing, and you know that you should be taking care of, and you know that you should be taking everything to that next level in your life. There's a reason why you're not doing it, and that's because you associate more pain with the doing of the work than you do with whatever your current habits are that aren't serving you.
Yeah.
So rewiring and changing them habits, sometimes you got to fucking force that shit into existence.
Yes.
Whatever you have to do, couple it with, humiliation, couple it with anything that that you will begin to associate more pain with the not doing of the work. And, I will be honest with you, as soon as I did that, I knew I made a decision. Like, I believe that as soon as I wrote that check, and I actually went live in our mastermind group, and I wrote the check, I showed everybody in there, and talked a little bit about what I was doing. And as soon as I did that, I knew I made a decision.
Yeah, you were going to get that shit done.
And it felt amazing, but it actually caused me to think, like, how many times do we trick ourselves into thinking that we made a decision when we haven't even fucking came close to making a decision, meaning you cut off any possibility of failure. Right? Mm-hmm. So think about the areas in your life where you need to make decisions and what you can to neuroprogram yourself to commit to that. Mm-hmm. Some of the things they talk about is, some of the things that I've read, like, for instance, somebody makes a decision that they're going to quit smoking cigarettes, for instance.
Yeah.
They'll start looking at photos and pictures of charred lungs and start looking at photos and pictures of people, maybe you want to take it one step further, go visit a cancer ward and actually begin to associate so much pain with the smoking that you'll actually quit. But one of the things that is a key, that if you have, people don't realize, like, regardless of whether your habit's bad, it's serving you in some way. There's some sort of fulfillment that you're getting out of that habit.
But that's like a temporary, right?
Yeah, sure. But it's there. There's something, in some way, you feel that it's serving you, or you wouldn't do it because you're gaining pleasure from it. I mean, in any regard, you would want to get away from it if it was actually causing you pain.
That's true.
And again, that actually comes back from our primal instincts. Our instincts are to always go towards something that causes us pleasure. And another reason why our instincts are that way is our instincts will always go towards the conservation of energy. So if we feel that something's going to cause us pain, because back in the hunter-gathering days, I mean, sometimes food was hard to come by, and you didn't want to use energy that you couldn't afford. Mm-hmm. I mean, like actual physical food energy was the commodity. That was what was needed. That was the means of exchange.
Yeah.
And because of that, for I don't even know how many ever years, our brains have been wired to conserve energy at any aspect.
Yeah.
Like, that actually goes really, really deep, guys. That even goes into marketing. Do you know that's the reason why if you actually use like who's that guy you're talking about, the commercial for Lincoln, Matthew McConaughey, is that his name?
Yeah.
Yeah, so you were talking about the other
Lincoln,
day.
yeah,
you were talking about the other day how he's a spokesperson for Lincoln, perfect spokesperson.
They picked the perfect person.
So,
they did.
I'll give you.
I don't know anybody who doesn't like him.
I'll give you an example in the marketing realm how far people will go to save energy. Okay, and this is why it's hardwired. Like you can see somebody like Matthew McConaughey, and you can decide since he likes it and since he endorses it, you don't even have to look that far into it.
No.
Because he must know something. If he's willing to endorse it, he's saving you time and that's the reason why people pick individuals.
I would buy that Lincoln that he was.
Or, think about this. Or think about, this pain medicine is the one that's most recommended by doctors. They use that term because people immediately associate a doctor with a position of authority, which, okay, well, if it's recommended by most doctors, then I guess I don't have to do any further research. That's conservation. You're actually saving energy. And that's why in marketing, I'll be honest with you guys, when you go through some of my marketing funnels and stuff like that, and you see a bunch of little clips where I took shots of Facebook, or you see testimonials and stuff like that, I'm trying to help you decide to purchase something utilizing the least amount of your energy. So you look at it, you say, well, Bryce Kelly likes it. Well, then, that's all I need to know.
That's all I need to know.
We are always trying to save energy. And that's why I actually talk about this on the website. You'll notice some of my websites always have a rapport building block at the top, meaning on the first scroll, I want reviews in their face.
Yeah.
I want reviews in your clients and customers' faces, and I want them linked to the credible review source.
Yeah.
Now, I have seen times, and people still do this, and occasionally I get asked to do it, and I'm like, whatever, man. If you really want to do this, you don't have no reviews, then you can put whatever ones you've got. Meaning, they have these written reviews that, it's basically a written review, and that says from John. And to be honest with you, people see through that shit, you have to have it now. It's got to be tied and linked to some sort of credible source.
Because then they think it's fake.
But yeah, you just think it's fake. You think if this guy's got to write a bunch of fake reviews, why can't he show me a Google review or something?
Fuck that, I'm going to go find somebody else.
Yeah, fuck that, I'm going to go find somebody else. And that's the thing people don't get about you have to. We're at a day now where them reviews, they've got to be credible. They got to be from the better. If you can get it from a better source, the better for you. If you can find somebody in your community that can has a big name, in your community, and you can get them to write a review for you, good for you. You put that bitch right up front, and because that will actually save people a lot of energy. They say, hey, well, Jack Smith uses them. I definitely want to use them. Mm-hmm. Take that review, screenshot it, and put it everywhere. If they shared something on Facebook, if they wrote a Facebook review, if they wrote a Google review, screenshot that thing and put it under every aspect of the page. Put it under where the quote's at, and utilize that to its fullest extent. But to go full circle with that, when we go back to making a decision and creating habits, you still have to fight that temptation, because if you actually feel, deep down, you actually feel it's painful to do so, you're going to be fighting nature as well. Meaning that you're naturally going to try to conserve energy, so you don't want to do things that suck energy from you. Anything that's painful is going to suck energy away from you.
Yeah.
Anything that's pleasurable is going to give you energy. Yeah. So you have to begin to reassociate the not doing of it with something much more painful to actually trick your brain, to trick your mind to reassociate, do neuro reassociation. and reassociate this task or this goal with something that is going to move you towards pleasure.
Yeah.
Because even then, that's when your body kicks in, your mind kicks in, and it'll move you in that direction just to save you energy alone.
Yeah.
And I want to tell you that we literally what's the old joke I was telling you earlier? How long does it take a therapist to change a light bulb?
Didn't you say 10 or something like that?
Yeah, it takes a therapist 10 years, but the light bulb has got to want to be changed.
That's true.
and no joke, like I know people that have massive help from therapists and stuff like that. But don't be fooled by society telling you that change actually takes a long time. I mean, think about it. Anytime you've had a massive change in your life, that decision was made in one moment.
Yeah.
The time was just leading up to that one decision.
Yeah.
So, you guys have been following me for a while now. You've got to be self-aware to the point to understand that you know what you need to do. Cut the time by doing neuro reassociation. Cut the time of leading up to that decision.
Wait a minute. Is this like also something to where when you came home and it was something that you were listening from like Tony Robbins about how you looked at me as a kangaroo?
No.
No.
No, you guys don't even get that. But that is something, yeah, Tony Robbins does talk about NLP a lot, which is, neuro-linguistic programming.
Oh.
Yeah.
But you associate me now with it as a kangaroo.
When she gets mad. Well, okay, so I'll give you an example, all right? I'll give you guys this neuro-association hack. If you guys want to, number one, you got to watch what you associate things with, okay? So, for instance, you could be heated. Something that happened at work, you just got off the phone call with an angry customer that doesn't know what he's talking about. Something happens at work that just literally lights you up. You're fired up, you're angry, you're upset, and you come home and you're looking at your wife in the face, and she's trying to talk to you, cheer you up. But what you're doing is you're beginning to associate the anger that you had earlier with her face. That's the problem.
Oh.
Because you'll begin to associate her with the source of the anger. So you got to be very careful about that association. Like I said, the baby who fell off the edge of the couch, now it just associates couches. I don't want to be near a couch. That thing hurts, right?
Yeah.
It's the same thing for us. If you're in an angry state, and you come home, you see your wife, she tries to cheer you up, you're mad, you snap at her, you begin to associate her face with the anger that happened or with the problem. Mm-hmm. So you got to be super careful about them neuro associations. And the truth of the matter is, anybody can snap out of that at any moment.
That's true.
And one of the things that Tony Robbins does talk about in one of his books is that somebody, individual will come into his office and they'll sit down to get, whatever services he's providing. I don't know what they call it. I think they maybe he does call it NLP or something like that. And he's talking to the individual, or the individual comes in and starts telling him all these sob stories and all this and that about this is happening in my day and this is what's happening. And Tony, he's a giant dude, big old giant dude. He says he looks over at the individual and says, "Excuse me, we haven't started yet."
Okay, you just got a little scary there.
I wanted that to be scary. And he does that because immediately they go, "Oh, I'm sorry. Oh, I'm sorry." So he snapped them out of that state. He took them out of that state.
Yeah.
Meaning that they could have took themselves out of that state. Mm-hmm. We can take ourselves in and out of any state that we associate with, with the right attitude. Mm-hmm. And with what you were talking about, to go full circle, I was associating her with a kangaroo. And I'm sure you guys are probably sitting there wondering what that's about. I always tell her to hop over here and give me a smooch. And
Got an angry kangaroo.
So all right, so here's the deal. You got something you're angry about. and it's stuck in your mind all day long. And this anger just keeps building up and fueling and building up. And that's because you are replaying the thing over and over and over in your mind.
You're letting it fester inside.
Right. So you're literally visualizing it. You're thinking about it. You're internalizing it. You're beginning to feel these feelings. So take a step back and actually, whatever situation that is causing that anger, and whatever situation that is causing that frustration, turn it into a funny cartoon. Like, in your mind, begin imagining the person as like this goofy cartoon character. Back it up. Play it. Make them sound stupid. Turn your wife into a kangaroo. Whatever it takes to
a wiener.
Whatever it takes. Turn them. Put a big cock on their head.
Wiener.
If somebody, let's just say
it's a wiener.
Yeah, let's just say a customer got under your skin or something like that, or somebody got under your skin one day. Vision them with a big giant dick flopping on their head, and just envision them yelling at you, and the dick is like coming down and smacking them in their face. And begin envisioning that over and over and over again. That's the equivalent of taking a record and scratching it, causing it to where it will play differently in your mind, and it will cause you to associate the original pain with something that's like funny or something that's
a wiener,
much different.
A wiener.
Yeah. So anyhow, guys, I'm going to bounce out of here. We went long enough on this podcast, and we'll talk a little bit more about some of this type of stuff next week, and you can obviously see what's on her mind, so I better run on out of here, y'all. We're going to see you on the next one.